What's up, everybody? NorbCam here. Looking back at the Seahawks-Panthers game from Sunday Night Football, and yeah, baby, we got it done. 40-7 pounding of the Carolina Panthers. I was, of course, at the game, and that was one of the funnest games I've been to in a long time. It was nice to be at a game where there was no stress, where I wasn't having an ulcer churning on my insides, eating me from the inside out. So it was a lot of fun for, I'm sure, all of you guys who watched it on NBC. That was pretty awesome. We started hot and really never looked back. And so just remember, all of you guys, after the Tampa Bay game last week, everybody was saying, our team is done, we're doomed, fire Bevel, and all that stuff. Now look at what happened. I mean, it was great. We had the revenge. I wanted this, I've had this game circled on our calendar since last year, since we lost to them twice last year, one at home and in the playoffs. So to get that one, it's kind of like a double. It felt like a double whammy, getting the revenge, putting the pounding on them. Felt like a redemption game, even though it was a little less satisfying as I thought it would be, just because I thought it'd be a lot closer. So when a rivalry is never as good when the other team is weak, when they suck, and Carolina's been pretty lame this whole season. And so it made the victory, while it was still just as fun and enjoyable. There's a part of me that, I think had it been, if they'd been more competitive this year and it was one of those things where we're not knocking them out of first place or something, it would have been that much more intense. But I'll take it. It was extremely fun. It was like a party atmosphere in CenturyLink. And so, yeah, it was a game to behold. And, man, where do we start to talk about this game? As I said in my prediction song, we were better than Cam. Cam was pretty awful. He resorted back to his pre-last year Cam Newton, where he's struggling up and down, and of course started the game. I didn't realize it because I was kind of still running around trying to get settled when that opening interception happened. But Cam Newton being benched because he wasn't wearing proper dress code. It's pretty crazy, pretty silly, considering the fact that Cam Newton wears the most ridiculous outfits half the time, especially for press conferences. Why would he get benched for not wearing a tie? It makes no sense, no continuity to me there as far as their guidelines, dress code. But whatever Ron Rivera wants to do with his team is all fine, because you ain't going nowhere this season. All right, well, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this game. First of all, the offensive woes of the previous week completely erased. Man, where do we start? We had 29 first downs, more than double of the 14 of Carolina. 534 total yards. 294 passing, 240 on the ground. What's cool about that is that the Panthers were actually the number 2 ranked rushing defense going into that game, averaging about 80 yards a game, and we basically tripled that. Granted, Luke Kuechly and their safety Coleman were out, so you got to take that in consideration. Just like when we were injured back in the Bucs game, you have to factor that in. So still, 500 plus yards is an amazing accomplishment. Defensively, back to our defensive domination. I mean, we've still been solid. Even when we lost to the Bucs, we only let them have 2 touchdowns. But it was really, really a dominating performance to only give up 7 points. We had the time of possession, 34 minutes to their 26 basically. 2 for 6 in the red zone, which is okay. You want to be at least 50%, but 2 for 6 is all right. We had, let's see, we were not too bad in the penalty area, which has often been one of our Achilles. Only 6 penalties. Both teams only had 6 penalties for 37 yards for us, so that's actually, pretty good. And we won the turnover battle 2-1. So, that's the formula. That is the true formula for Seattle championship football. Balanced attack, rushing, passing, solid defense, and converting opportunities in the red zone. So we could still do a little bit better there, but I'm overall happy with. How can you not be? It was awesome. Special teams, you got to get special teams. We were 100% on field goals. Kickoffs were solid. Punt unit was, for the most part, solid. I think Orion had one kind of short punt, but still not bad for him. And of course, we had some pretty big punt returns or kick returns by Tyler Lockett. So that was great to see. Again, all facets of the game. And and another key to that game was that Cam Chancellor put his black visor back on, and you do that, and that's half the battle right there. So, and I know why. I was watching the Seahawks All Access, and I know why Cam didn't have his visor on. I don't know why this was the case, but he had it just in pregame warmups, and then in one of the scenes on the sideline. Some staff members, you can see him with Cam Chancellor's visor. He's like spraying it, trying to clean it off or something. So he must have got something on there to where it must have been obstructing his vision, and they must not have cleaned it off completely, so he never put it back on. That is why he didn't have the visor on, which was a big contributor to their loss against the Bucs. But we won't talk about that anymore. Everything's good. Well, for the most part. We'll get into the negatives of this game shortly. But what else? Wilson was solid, as I said, 294 yards passing, 1 touchdown to Jimmy Graham. He did get sacked 3 times. I'd say at least one of those times wasn't the Lions' fault. Held on to it probably a little bit too long. And he rushed the ball well. But let's see, Wilson, I can't remember how much he ran for. It was pretty good, though. Big part of that offense was running him scrambling and running for yardage, getting first downs up by his legs. So it's nice to see that again. And see what else. Yeah, the touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham was nice to see. Tyler Lockett with a 75-yard touchdown fly sweep run around the outside. That was really great to see him break something open. He's been slowed down this whole season with early injuries, so it's nice to see. It's like him and Russell are like lock his step, healing at the same pace. You can see them both like picking up their speed, getting their gears back on in their running game, all at the same time. So that was cool to see. Lockett doing his thing, and then of course Thomas Rawls. I told you he'd be back, didn't I? Didn't I say from what he was last year that for those who had amnesia and forgot what he did last year, this is what we were so excited about. Games like this, and he had games like this last year. Breakaway games, running over guys, or breakaway runs, cutting laterally like that one touchdown run of like 40 or 50 yards where he goes up the middle, bounces it outside, and quickly gets upfield. That's the Thomas Rawls we've loved. The hitting guys and running them over, yards after contact. He did get a concussion in the later part of the first half and came back for a little bit, but don't want to see that. That's the only concern is that he runs so hard, and you just don't want to see him bang himself so hard to the point where he gets himself knocked out of the game. We're going to need him, so hopefully he can just, keep himself solid as he continues to run with that violent, angry running style of his. What else? I think another big key to this game was, again, getting guys back. We had Justin Britt back at center again, and we didn't have him at the Bucs game. We have him back this one, and man, I think that just against point I made was that it's when you have, it's not just the player making plays, but it's the communication. He calls the line signals, and having the experience of a guy like him who's really developed well this season into our center and has been one of the standouts of our line. When you lose a guy like that, that's a big drop off when you don't have someone like him in your line. So it's great to have him back. I think that's a big part of why we did so well offensively. What else? It was cool to see beast mode I heard he was walking around the stadium. I probably almost ran into him. I did not, unfortunately, but it was cool when they showed him on the big screen in the stadium. The place just went wild. I mean, it was just, you gotta love the guy. And even if he's not playing, his very presence just makes you feel like you've got an edge on the other team. And I guess he even talked to Thomas Rawls about trying to protect himself, how to not take some of those hits, let your body take the hit, not your head, so that help prevent the concussion thing. So it's just cool to see him on the sideline giving his coaching tips, to the younger guys, to the younger Rawls coming up. So Beast Mode was cool to see. So the only negatives statistically was we had to settle for some red zone field goals. So again, you'd like to be more like 50% or better, but not too bad, all things considered. Wilson did throw a pick. It was a pretty bad one too. It reminded me a lot of that one he threw against the Saints, where a guy was just kind of sitting on the route, and I don't know if he just didn't see him or what, but he was kind of right there to make that pick. So hopefully doesn't do too many of those, because Wilson's been really good about protecting the football. So hopefully he just kind of dusts that one off and keeps his head on a swivel. And we didn't record any sacks against Newton, but we got pressure on him. There were a lot of times he was rushing throws, and pressure was getting to him like right after he'd get the throw off. So I liked the fact that they were getting on him, so they weren't necessarily sacking him, but they were in his face, and that's a good thing. That's sometimes even better than a sack, because that might result in interceptions and things like that. So and now the real test to see. We had one bad game, and now we had another great game. So now we gotta put it to the test and see if this is a really good, solid trend that we're moving towards as we take on the Packers in Lambeau Field next week. I had, way back at the beginning of the season, chalked this up as a loss. Oh no, why do we have to go down to Lambeau? For my prediction video. They're not as formidable as I once thought they were going to be. I think they're definitely beatable. And I think if Seattle can play like they did this past Sunday, they should have their way with the Packers. But, of course, the elephant in the room that I have been avoiding till now, which is the injury to Earl Thomas. Everybody in Seahawks Nation already knows Earl Thomas collided with Cam Chancellor going for an interception, which he would have had, and I bet would have gone for pick six, the way I could see him surveying the field and the way he was attacking that ball. Legs hit together, and he cracked his tibia, his shin bone, and he will be out for the year. He will not be back, even if we make it to the Super Bowl, sadly. So we have to come to the grips of facing life for the remainder of 2016 without Earl Thomas. So, what does that mean? Everybody wants to know, wow, what does this really mean for the Seahawks defense? Well, never had to think about it except for one game, and we saw what happened in the Bucs game. Not to say that that's the reason, because our defense actually played pretty all right once they got settled in. However, it does show a little bit of what can happen when you lose a player. Much like when we lost Britt at center, losing Thomas in the backfield, I think, is just one of those things where he's an amazing talent, but it's also the communication side that when you get the trio, the triad of Sherman, Chancellor, and Thomas back there, those three guys, they don't get any better than that. But you lose one, and it just changes the dynamic. Just like when Chancellor was out, it changes the dynamic. We've never had to really be without Sherman, so we never had to go with that. But this is new ground to go multiple games and a remainder of a season without Earl Thomas back there. So, he's, in my book, the best free safety in the game. Incredible range, incredible speed, hits guys relentlessly, knocked Gronkowski out for the season. He laid a hit just like that too. I believe it was Calvin Benjamin in the Panther game. Very similar play where he drilled his shoulder into his chest. Call him the heat-seeking missile. And he's so dangerous back there that teams will just remove certain plays out of their playbook because they know that Earl Thomas is back there. They won't test him deep or to the seams because they know that he's going to be lurking around. Well, they won't have to fear that anymore. And so my feeling is that they probably will. be testing the secondary a lot more than they would have if Earl Thomas isn't back there. So a lot of pressure on Terrell, who's going to be filling in for him. Got big shoes to fill. And hopefully he can rise up and get some tutelage from Earl Thomas to kind of show him the way and quickly get him up to speed to get as close as possible to his level. But it's going to be a drop-off. Now the big question is, how will the rest of the D, compensate for that? And we'll find out. We'll find out in time. We won't really get tested too much for the rest of the season, given the way our opponents are looking. We should win out this season, given Seattle's position and really the records of our opponents. However, Aaron Rodgers is good quarterback. Carson Palmer is still good, even though they've had an off season. They got a win last week, and so he's the kind of guy that might test. These are the two types of quarterbacks that will test that secondary. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that. And of course, we got the Rams. The Rams are just like as I figured. They suck against everybody else, but somehow find a way to play us tough. But hopefully this one will be the one that we shut them down on as they come back to our place next Thursday night on the when we debut our Green Rush neon highlight green outfits. Which I gotta be honest, I'm not a big fan of the Color Rush jersey thing. But it'll be fun to watch because it'll be something we've never seen before. So it certainly won't be hard to miss. I mean, you can probably see those outfits from the moon, the way they're going to be glowing on that field. But I digress. So going back to the Thomas injury. So yeah, gone for the year. And we just kind of hope that what he said in his tweet, I know a lot of people were freaking out about him mentioning the word retirement, and he's never really backed off that. In fact, he was quoted, I think, saying he still feels the same way as he did yesterday. So, I just still think that, he put that out there in the heat of the moment. Apparently, as a player, you're not supposed to tweet in game. You actually get fined. He'll probably get fined for doing that, like $5,000 or something for tweeting during games. But I understand why he did it, and he's not used to this. He's never had to deal with extended health issues. He's never missed a game until 2 games ago, and the rest, a significant amount of games to end the season. So I'm sure that feeling of just suddenly realizing you're not indestructible, and then possibly missing out on a Super Bowl run here, I'm sure all that was weighing on his mind. But hopefully, as he starts to get back into it, rehabbing and realizing, he's going to come back from this and hopefully not lose a step in the process, that he'll be back and hungry. I just think he's too good. He's too young. He's got too much football left in him. And I know how much he loves this game. So I think that we haven't seen the last of Earl Thomas. E.T. will come home. E.T. come home. Okay, so that's my thoughts on that. But it will be sad not seeing 29 back there for a while. So, but next man up. Okay, those weren't the only injuries in that game. As I mentioned, Rawls did get a concussion, but he did come back, so I think he's okay. So we'll see how his status is going into the next game. Will Tukuafu apparently got into concussion protocol, so he's out. And in fact, they picked up Marcel Reese, fullback from the Raiders, who apparently he's like a 3-time Pro Bowler over there and got suspended for PED uses. So we picked him up, so he should feel right at home here in Seattle. Just kidding. But no, I mean, that's, I think, with Rawls trying to keep him healthy back there, having a good, solid fullback that we can rely on to, help plow the field a little bit for him would be nice to have. So hopefully this guy can get into his Pro Bowl form and do some damage back there in the backfield. Sound like this, you miss Michael Robinson. Remember? And Mike Robb and the Real Rob Report. Loved watching those videos. Anyway. What else? Other good news, too, is that Luke Wilson, who suffered the sprained knee at the Tampa Bay game, should be back for the Packers game. So he'll be back, too. So he's going to be back and ready to contribute. So I'll get more in depth. I didn't do a keys to the game for the Panthers game last week. But I will do a keys to the game later this week on Blue Friday. Talk about what we need to do to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But just to wrap things up, this past weekend was fun. Besides the game being completely amazing, I had a fun, just total weekend in general. On Friday morning, it started out with a early morning tour of the Sunday Night Football bus, the one that you see with all the players painted on the side, and it had Russell Wilson and Cam Chancellor on there. Thanks to Chris Cashman of King 5, the local NBC affiliate. He invited me to come on there and hang out and check out the bus while they were doing some live broadcasting from there, and got to hang out with one of Seattle's most famous fans, Big Low. And Big Low's there with several of his friends, and we got to do some videos live on Channel 5, but also did our own little fun mannequin challenge, which was pretty sweet. I'd never done one of those before, so that was actually a lot of fun. And then later that day, I had a chance to visit another school. This time it was the Denny International Middle School in West Seattle, and so I got to meet a lot of the kids over there, signing stuff, phone cases, and things, and taking pictures and all that kind of stuff. So big thanks to Dory Fazio Young for setting that up. Had a great time, Dory, so I will definitely come back to visit the kids again. What else? And then on game day, there was a young man named Renzo Martinez who was there at the Seahawks facility for the weekend, courtesy of Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I got to meet Renzo and his family outside of the stadium. We shot a little video and took some pictures and stuff before going into Touchdown City next to the stadium. And it was great to meet all of you guys. Your family's awesome. And so good luck to all of you, and safe travels. You're probably already back, but hopefully you had a safe trip back to Fargo, North Dakota, and hopefully you guys will be back to Seattle again. Love to see you again if you ever come back in town. And what else? Oh yeah, and finally I had a little treat too. Right before the game, I had a chance to, me and Mark Collins, we got to spend some time with a couple of military guys from, there's Will Rice and Stanley Romes. They won an opportunity to get pre-game field level access, which we got to hang out with them down there, and they also got to watch the game from a suite in the Debbie McCumber suite. So it was a lot of fun to spend time with these gentlemen, take pictures, and just get a cool close-up view of some of the pre-game action. And of course, thank you guys for your service and everything that you've done for our country. So about to wrap up here. Just wanted to just do a quick, there was a lot of interesting games this weekend. I want to get a quick shout out here because Dave of Sports Live of the ATL, big Atlanta Falcons fan. Sorry, man. It looked like you had that game against the Chiefs wrapped up, and who would have seen a 2-point conversion go the other way to cause a loss for you guys by 1. And I feel bad for you. I can't deny the fact, though, that I was looking at the scoreboard and kind of smiling, seeing that they'd lost, because I got to protect the number 2 seed, man. So, sorry, David. Sorry that had to happen to you guys, though. It's pretty fluky. It's happened a couple of times this year already. But what else? Still chasing the Cowboys, although that chase is starting to run out of time. But Cowboys, I don't know how they won. They got so lucky against the Vikings. Should have lost that game, but a lucky fumble here and a missed call here and just some bad play by the Vikings, and you guys still managed to win the game. But we'll get you. Dallas, we coming for you. And I'm telling you, mark my words, an upset of major proportions is coming soon. It may not be in the next game or 2, but it's going to happen. And it's going to happen before the Super Bowl. Okay? That's my prediction. Bold prediction right here. Oh, what else? Speaking of other fans, Eagles lose to the Bengals. Sorry, EDP. Sorry, Delia. I'm afraid your season is probably all but over. I think it's been for a while, but sorry to see that. You guys are great fans, but maybe next year. Tampa Bay beat the Chargers in their house. I told you the Buccaneers were good. It wasn't that we were just bad. Tampa Bay's a pretty good team. Gotta watch out. They're they're moving up the playoff rankings. They might be stealing something away from somebody down there in the South if they're not careful. All right, what else? Cardinals somehow defeated the Redskins. That was kind of unexpected, but Arizona Animal, there you go. But the division is ours. That's all that matters. Final one. Colts destroy the Jets 41-10. Gangrene David, who I did a collab earlier with. Sorry, bro. Sorry the season hasn't worked out for you this year, but keep the faith. Keep the videos going, because someday fortunes will turn. All right. Just before I wrap this up, I just wanted to say that not long from now, by the time I get this thing posted, I am going to do another Ask Norb live stream tonight. My plan is to go live about 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So if you guys got questions for me or want to chat about whatever, I'm going to try this again. It was so much fun the first time. I'm going to try to do this every week, so I'm doing it again. So tune in. And I guess that's it. Hope you guys subscribe if you haven't already. That way you won't miss a single video from NorbCam. All right, that's it. Have a good week. And Packers coming up. Just keep it rolling. I'll talk to you guys tonight. Go Hawks.